Have you ever looked at yourself and wondered why people seem to misunderstand you at every turn? Why even those closest to you often mislabel your silence as coldness, your intensity as overthinking, or your need for solitude as rejection, and why you feel like you're carrying some invisible form of brilliance that the rest of the world only notices in flashes, if at all? If that question has ever haunted you, then this video is going to feel like someone finally put words to the unspoken, because today we are going to peel back the layers of the INFJ mind and reveal 10 unusual behaviors that, while often misinterpreted as weaknesses, quirks, or flaws, are in truth the very fingerprints of your hidden genius. INFJs, often called the rarest personality type, make up a tiny fraction of the population, but rarity alone doesn't explain the level of depth, complexity, and insight that you carry. What does make you extraordinary? What sets you apart in ways that few will ever grasp, is the unusual way your mind processes life. The way your intuition, empathy, and analytical reasoning intertwine into a form of brilliance that others struggle to understand, let alone appreciate. And yet, because these traits often show up in strange or unconventional behaviors, you've probably spent much of your life being told that you're too much, too quiet, too sensitive, or too complicated. But here, in this space, I want to flip the script and show you that these very differences are proof of your brilliance. Let's begin. 1. The strange art of strategic withdrawal. Most people withdraw as a reaction. They retreat when they're overwhelmed, exhausted, or defeated, and it's usually a sign of giving up, of needing temporary escape from the demands of life. But when you, as an INFJ, withdraw, it is almost never a reaction alone. It is a strategy, a deliberate choice to step back from the noise, the chaos, the endless currents of emotion and expectation, so that you can return to yourself, recalibrate your inner compass, and emerge not weaker but stronger, clearer, and more focused than before. To outsiders, your withdrawal may look like avoidance. Friends may assume you're shutting them out, family may accuse you of being cold, and colleagues may whisper that you can't handle the pressure. But the truth is that you are handling more than they could ever imagine: the emotions of others, the unspoken tensions in a room, the subtle undercurrents of manipulation or dishonesty, and your withdrawal is the only way you can process all of it without drowning. It is brilliance in disguise, because what looks like stepping away is actually a form of regrouping that allows you to return with insights others would never have discovered. Think about it. How many times have you stepped back from a conflict, only to come back later with words so precise that they cut through the heart of the issue? How many times have you walked away from a problem, let it marinate in the silence of your inner world, and then returned with a solution so elegant that people wonder how you thought of it? This is the brilliance of INFJ withdrawal. You are not running away, you are gathering strength, information, and clarity that can only be found in solitude. Strategic withdrawal is also about self-preservation. INFJs absorb energy like sponges, and if you stayed constantly immersed in the noise of the external world, you would burn out, emotionally collapse, or lose sight of your own identity. By withdrawing, you protect yourself, but more importantly, you protect your purpose. You know deep down that you have work to do in this world, work that requires your full self, and you cannot allow the constant demands of others to scatter your energy. So you step back, you disappear, you retreat into your sanctuary, and in doing so, you not only survive, you sharpen the brilliance that makes you who you are. What looks unusual to the world, disappearing, going silent, needing space, is, in reality, a highly intelligent act of energy management. And when you return, you often bring with you clarity that others simply don't have, because while they were reacting to the surface, you were analyzing the depths. 2. Turning silence into a weapon of perception. For most people, silence is uncomfortable. It's a gap to be filled, an awkward pause to be smoothed over with chatter. But for INFJs, silence is not an absence, it is a tool, a weapon, a way of perceiving the truth beneath the noise. When you choose silence, you are not disengaged. Quite the opposite, you are more engaged than anyone else in the room. While others rush to speak, to prove themselves, to fill the air with words, you are watching, listening, sensing. You are letting people reveal themselves, because silence has a way of pulling truth out of others. The longer you remain quiet, the more others feel compelled to explain, to justify, to reveal what they didn't mean to reveal. Your silence unsettles people because it mirrors back to them their own discomfort. They wonder what you're thinking, what you're seeing, what judgments you may be making. And while they wonder, you are quietly collecting data, the tone of their voice, the shift in their body language, the inconsistencies in their story. Silence gives you the upper hand, not because you want power over others, but because you want truth. And here's the brilliance of it. Silence allows you to hear what others can't. It allows you to detect motives, to sense dishonesty, to notice the emotions people are trying to hide. In silence, you become a mirror, and people reveal more to a mirror than they ever realize. This is why people often confess to you without meaning to, why they feel compelled to open up in your presence. Your silence creates space, and in that space, the truth rushes in. It may feel unusual to outsiders. Why don't you talk more? Why don't you join the chatter? Why do you sit in silence while everyone else laughs and talks? But your silence is not emptiness. It is perception sharpened to brilliance. 3. Seeing patterns where others see chaos. The world is noisy, fragmented, and full of contradictions. Most people accept this as normal, never pausing to look beneath the surface. But INFJs can't help themselves. Your mind is wired to find patterns, to trace the invisible threads that connect moments, behaviors, and events. What looks like chaos to others looks to you like a tapestry, and though the picture may take time to reveal itself, you are always piecing it together. This unusual behavior often makes people accuse you of overthinking, of being too serious, of reading too much into things. But in reality, your pattern seeing is brilliance at work. You notice the subtle contradiction between someone's words and their body language, and you realize they're lying before anyone else does. You recognize that the same cycle keeps repeating in your life, and you break it before it destroys you. You see the larger trends in society, in relationships, in systems, and you know where they're heading long before others do. Pattern recognition is what makes you an extraordinary predictor. People often joke about INFJs being psychic, but the truth is that you simply see more data than others do, and you connect it faster. You see not just the event, but the pattern behind the event, and that gives you uncanny foresight. It's also what makes you wise beyond your years. While others get caught up in surface details, you see the bigger picture. You understand not just what is happening, but why it's happening, and where it's likely to lead. And that ability, though unusual and often misunderstood, is one of the clearest marks of your brilliance. 4. The way INFJs obsess over patterns others overlook. Imagine walking into a room full of conversations, laughter, and noise. Most people focus on the surface, the words being spoken, the jokes being told, the obvious body language of who is comfortable and who is not. But for the INFJ, something entirely different happens. Their brain, almost automatically, begins scanning the room, not for the surface-level details, but for the patterns beneath the noise. They notice how someone's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes, how another person consistently interrupts only when a specific individual is speaking, and how the person sitting in the corner avoids eye contact when a certain topic is mentioned. This is not passive observation. It's an obsession with hidden patterns, a constant desire to connect dots that others don't even realize exist. An INFJ will notice how someone who claims they're confident always fiddles with their sleeves when under pressure, or how a group dynamic changes the moment one specific personality enters the room. These seemingly tiny details may look meaningless to most people, but to an INFJ, they are puzzle pieces that reveal profound truths about the situation, the relationship dynamics, and even the unspoken emotional undercurrents. Psychologically, this tendency ties directly to the INFJ's dominant function, introverted intuition, NI. NI thrives on synthesizing disparate details into a bigger picture. While most people observe reality linearly, INFJs experience it as an interconnected web of meanings, threads, and symbolic signals. What makes this unusual behavior so brilliant is that it allows INFJs to predict outcomes long before they manifest. For example, they may know a relationship will fall apart months before either person admits it, because the subtle cues already reveal the trajectory. This obsession with patterns also extends beyond people. INFJs see trends in the world, in culture, politics, technology, or spirituality. They may predict shifts in human behavior long before society catches up, which is why so many INFJs throughout history have been visionaries, artists, reformers, and prophets. Their brilliance lies not in simply seeing what is, but in decoding what it means and where it's heading. Of course, this unusual behavior can confuse others. People often misinterpret the INFJ's ability to pick up patterns as overthinking, paranoia, or even judgment. But what outsiders fail to realize is that these insights are not guesses. They are conclusions formed by synthesizing countless microsignals over time. The INFJ brain is like a constant data processor, quietly collecting and sorting observations, until eventually, the aha moment emerges with clarity. The emotional side of this brilliance, however, is both a gift and a burden. Because INFJs can't stop seeing patterns, they often struggle to stay present in the moment. Their mind is always a few steps ahead, reading between the lines, predicting consequences, or uncovering hidden motives. This can create a sense of isolation, as if they are living in a different reality from those around them. But for the INFJ, it's not a choice, it's simply the way their mind is wired. And here's where the true brilliance shines. While others get caught up in illusions, distractions, or surface-level charm, INFJs already know the deeper truth. They may not always announce it, but they carry within them an ability to navigate life with foresight, clarity, and a deeper understanding of the invisible forces shaping human behavior. This is not just unusual, it's extraordinary proof of their quiet genius. 5. The strange way. INFJs mix deep empathy with brutal honesty. Most people assume empathy and honesty don't always mix well. After all, to be empathetic means to soften the truth, to avoid hurting feelings, and to prioritize comfort. And to be brutally honest often means cutting through illusions with sharp words, no matter how they land. Yet, the INFJ somehow combines these two seemingly opposite traits into one unusual behavior, a kind of compassionate truth-telling that is as rare as it is powerful. An INFJ can sit across from someone, feel their pain almost as if it were their own, and still say the very thing that person needs to hear, even if it hurts. Imagine a friend clinging to a toxic relationship. Most people might offer shallow comfort. Give it time, maybe they'll change. But the INFJ, after deeply absorbing their friend's emotions and silently reading the dynamics, might calmly say, "You know this relationship is draining the life out of you. You deserve better, and you already know it." The words land with weight, not because the INFJ is harsh, but because the honesty is fused with undeniable empathy. Psychologically, this comes from the INFJ's unique blend of functions: introverted intuition, ni, combined with extroverted feeling, fei. Ni gives them clarity about hidden truths, while fei ensures their delivery is emotionally attuned, wrapped in warmth and understanding. This is why when an INFJ tells the truth, it doesn't feel like judgment, it feels like revelation. It feels like someone finally dared to say what your soul has been whispering all along. This unusual behavior is brilliant because it cuts through denial and self-deception. INFJs recognize that false comfort only prolongs suffering, whereas compassionate honesty, though painful in the moment, sets people free. They intuitively know that love isn't about protecting someone from the truth, but about guiding them toward it in the most humane way possible. Yet, this ability also makes INFJs misunderstood. Some people accuse them of being too intense, too serious, or even manipulative. Others retreat from them, unable to handle the piercing way an INFJ sees straight into their contradictions. But the truth is, INFJs never speak from cruelty. Their honesty is born from love, a deep desire to help others align with their higher selves, and a refusal to watch someone they care about remain stuck in illusions. This combination of empathy and honesty is what makes INFJs natural healers, counselors, writers, and leaders. Their words can cut and comfort at the same time, leaving people shaken but ultimately transformed. It is unusual because very few people can balance these two traits without leaning too far into either softness or harshness. But the INFJ walks this razor's edge masterfully, proving once again that their brilliance lies in their ability to blend opposites into something extraordinary. 6. The INFJ's habit of withdrawing suddenly, without warning. Picture this. One moment the INFJ is fully present, engaging, even pouring their heart into a conversation, and the next moment they've gone quiet, withdrawn into themselves, as if they've disappeared into another dimension. To those around them, it may feel sudden, confusing, even cold. But for the INFJ, this withdrawal is not random, it is an essential behavior for survival and clarity. INFJs process the world so deeply, so constantly, that they inevitably reach points of overstimulation. Their empathy absorbs emotions, their intuition connects patterns, and their inner world never stops running. After prolonged exposure to external chaos, their energy begins to deplete, almost like a phone battery running dangerously low. And when that happens, they don't have the luxury of politely waiting for the right moment. They simply withdraw, often without explanation, because their inner system demands it. At first glance, this behavior might seem unusual, even rude. But in reality, it is a mark of brilliance. The INFJ's sudden withdrawal is an act of self-preservation, a way to recharge their intuitive insights and emotional energy so they can return with clarity and strength. During these quiet phases, the INFJ is not doing nothing. They are reflecting, recalibrating, making sense of everything they've absorbed, and often arriving at profound insights they couldn't access in the noise of social life. Psychologically, this is the INFJ's introverted intuition retreating inward, needing solitude to synthesize everything into meaning. Unlike extroverts, who recharge through stimulation, INFJs recharge through silence and solitude. This withdrawal is also tied to their highly sensitive nervous system, which processes information more deeply than the average person's. Without breaks, they would drown in overstimulation, so their withdrawal is not weakness, it is wisdom. Of course, this habit often leaves others puzzled or even hurt. Friends may wonder why the INFJ suddenly ghosted them, or why they left the party early without saying goodbye. Loved ones may misinterpret it as rejection. But the truth is, INFJs do not withdraw to punish anyone, they withdraw to protect themselves, to maintain their inner equilibrium, and to keep their brilliance alive. What makes this unusual behavior so powerful is what happens after the withdrawal. When the INFJ returns, they often bring with them a fresh wave of creativity, insight, or wisdom. Their solitude allows them to reconnect with their inner compass, ensuring that when they re-engage with the world, they do so with authenticity rather than burnout. This rhythm of disappearing and reappearing is not dysfunction, it is the heartbeat of their genius. So while the world may see their sudden withdrawal as strange or frustrating, it is actually one of the clearest proofs of their brilliance. They are one of the few personality types who understand that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come not in the noise of life, but in the sacred silence of retreat. 7. The INFJ's odd relationship with perfectionism and creative chaos. There's a strange contradiction that lives at the heart of every INFJ. On the one hand, they are perfectionists to the core, endlessly striving to refine, polish, and improve every project, relationship, or idea they invest in. On the other hand, they also embrace a certain degree of creative chaos, an intuitive messiness that allows their brilliance to emerge in unpredictable and unconventional ways. To the outside world, this combination often appears unusual, even contradictory. Yet for the INFJ, it is a natural and necessary way of navigating life. Let's picture an INFJ working on a creative project. Perhaps they are writing a story, designing a presentation, or crafting a heartfelt message to someone they love. At first glance, their process might look chaotic. Notes scribbled on napkins, random voice memos recorded at odd hours, endless drafts scattered across their computer. Yet beneath this apparent disorder lies a perfectionist drive, a quiet but relentless pursuit of making sure that the final outcome captures the deepest truth they're trying to express. This strange blend of perfectionism and chaos is rooted in the INFJ's intuitive nature. Their introverted intuition doesn't operate linearly. It leaps from image to image, symbol to symbol, weaving connections in ways that can't be neatly organized. To force this process into rigid structure too soon would suffocate it. So, INFJs allow a period of creative chaos, where fragments swirl, overlap, and contradict, until eventually, a pattern emerges that only they can see. Then, and only then, does their perfectionist streak take over, refining the raw material into something polished, profound, and deeply impactful. This unusual behavior is brilliant because it allows INFJs to access a unique kind of creativity. While some people rely purely on discipline or purely on inspiration, INFJs combine the two. Their willingness to embrace chaos ensures they can reach levels of originality that rigid perfectionists might miss. And their perfectionism ensures that their final product is not just imaginative but also polished and meaningful. It's why INFJ creators, whether writers, artists, or leaders, often produce work that feels both visionary and meticulously crafted. Of course, this duality can also make life difficult for the INFJ. Their perfectionist side often leads to self-criticism, procrastination, or the painful sense that nothing is ever good enough. Their chaotic side sometimes frustrates those who want neat timelines or predictable processes. Yet, when understood and embraced, this tension becomes the very source of their brilliance. It is the INFJ's way of ensuring that their creations, and even their lives, are not just efficient, but soulful. What looks unusual to the outside world is, in truth, a profound form of genius. The INFJ is not simply torn between order and chaos. They're weaving the two together into a rhythm that allows their deepest insights to take shape in ways both surprising and unforgettable. 8. The INFJ's strange ability to mirror without losing themselves. There's something deeply unsettling and deeply fascinating about talking to an INFJ. Within minutes, you may feel as though they understand you better than anyone else ever has. They pick up on your tone, your energy, your unspoken emotions, and without even realizing it, they subtly mirror your essence back to you. It's not mimicry in the shallow sense, it's resonance, the ability to step so fully into your world that you feel profoundly seen. This unusual behavior comes from the INFJ's natural empathy combined with their extroverted function. Unlike most people, who maintain clear emotional boundaries, INFJs allow themselves to blend with others in a way that creates a temporary shared space of identity. They don't just hear your words, they inhabit your perspective, borrowing your emotional lens as if it were their own. This is why people often walk away from a conversation with an INFJ saying, "I don't know how, but you just get me." What makes this behavior brilliant is the way INFJs use it not to manipulate but to heal. Their mirroring allows them to validate, affirm, and comfort others in ways few people can. A lonely soul feels less alone. A misunderstood individual feels recognized. A broken heart feels less heavy. The INFJ's mirroring creates a safe space where someone can finally drop their masks, because the INFJ already sees beneath them anyway. But what's even more unusual, and even more brilliant, is that despite this deep merging, INFJs rarely lose themselves completely. Yes, they may feel temporarily blurred, but deep inside, they always carry a quiet anchor of identity, a spiritual compass that keeps them rooted. It's as if they can slip into your skin without abandoning their own. This is not an easy balance to strike, and it explains why INFJs are so often described as old souls, or even mystical. They can bridge the gap between self and other in ways that most people find impossible. Of course, this mirroring ability also comes with challenges. Some INFJs overuse it, losing themselves in the process, or attracting people who exploit their empathic gifts. But when wielded wisely, it becomes one of their greatest proofs of brilliance, a gift that allows them to not only understand others but also guide them toward transformation. Unusual? Absolutely. But brilliance often lies in the variabilities that cannot be explained by logic alone. So, what do all these unusual INFJ behaviors reveal? That brilliance does not always look like what the world expects. It doesn't always announce itself with loud confidence, visible success, or conventional achievements. Sometimes, brilliance lives quietly in the way someone notices a hidden pattern, tells a painful truth with love, retreats into silence to recharge, or lives half in reality and half in dreams. The INFJ's unusual behaviors are not flaws to be corrected. They are signs of a rare form of intelligence, one that blends intuition, empathy, foresight, and creativity into something extraordinary. They prove that the INFJ's way of being, though often misunderstood, carries a kind of genius the world desperately needs.